Seeker. Written by Suzana Thompson. Performed by Heather Firth. Chapter 41. Peace, like I've never felt before, settles over me the next morning. I have let go of all of my resentment toward God of the loss of my friends, and decided to let Him guide my life. I'm going to start reading the Bible Silas gave me and go to church every Sunday. In fact, I'm going to go to church this morning before I go see Justin at the hospital. God comes first, because I wouldn't have my brother back without him. Thinking about what I'm going to wear to church reminds me of seeing Justin's blood-stained jacket, and I decide to put it to wash before I begin making breakfast, automatically feeling inside the pockets before throwing it into the washing machine. I laugh when I pull out Justin's phone. He didn't lose it after all, and now our parents don't need to buy him a new one. I'm so excited that I run to tell my dad the news. "Hey, Dad," I yell when I find him staring out the front window in the living room. He turns around with a pensive expression that fades into one that's less serious as he gives me his attention. I wave the phone in front of me. "I just found Justin's phone in his pocket. You don't have to get him a new one." Dad's smile is softly muted, and his voice is quieter than usual. "That's great. He'll be happy you found it." "What's wrong?" I ask in concern. He shakes his head. "Nothing. I was just thinking about how it would have been to wake up this morning if Justin's condition hadn't changed." I'm unable to dwell on that in my newfound sense of contentment and peace. "I'm going to church," I announce with a warm smile. "I should go too," he says hesitantly. "But your mother probably hasn't gotten any rest. I should go stay with Justin so she can come home and sleep for a while." "It's okay," I tell him. "Silas and I will go to church. You guys can go next Sunday." He brightens. "Or we can go to afternoon mass later." "Yeah," I agree. "I'll stay with Justin when you go to church. Can I use your phone to call Silas?" I'm holding Justin's phone, but I don't know his password. "I'll give you back your phone," Dad offers. He goes to get it, but I discover that the battery is dead when he returns it to me. I end up using Dad's phone to call Silas and putting mine to charge. That reminds me to grab Justin's phone charger for Dad to take to the hospital along with his phone. Dad leaves after we have a quick breakfast of milk and cereal, and I get ready for church. Silas looks refreshed when he picks me up. The exhaustion from last night is gone from his countenance, as it is from mine and Dad's. I think it has more to do with relief from the stress than with the amount of rest we got. "How is Justin?" Silas questions me. "Good," I reply. "Dad talked to Mom, and she said the doctors are amazed at his recovery." "All things are possible with God," Silas states. "They are," I agree with conviction for the first time. I had heard that said before, but I hadn't considered the magnitude of what it meant. I am filled with awe when I think about it now, and I tell Silas how the doctors expected Justin to be severely brain damaged. "It is truly a miracle," he says. "Yes," I respond with all the joy and gratitude in my heart. When he parks the car, I realize that we are not at my church. This must be the church Silas was attending before he left for Bible college. It doesn't really matter to me which church we go to, so I eagerly walk inside with him. "Silas!" An older woman greets him in happy surprise. "Hello, Mrs. Perkins," he replies. "This is my fiancée, Mila." "Hello, Mila," Mrs. Perkins says. "It's wonderful to have you here with us. My goodness, such a lovely couple. Congratulations to you both." "Congratulations," echoes several women who have drawn closer to hear the conversation. I'm now being introduced to more people, until the start of the service quiets the excited chatter of the congregation, and we all take our places in the pews. I'm only partially listening to the preacher's words, because my mind is filled with my own praise for God. I understand now what it means to be joyful in the Lord, as I happily thank him for healing Justin. Silas nudges me. Do you want to go up and speak? I look at him in confusion. What? This is the part when you can share your story with the congregation. He explains. Anyone can go up and speak. I know I should tell everyone about what God did for Justin, but I'm unprepared to talk in front of everyone. Only the priest talks in my church. Can you do it? I plead. You know better what to say. At least, I assume he does, since he's been studying to be a priest. Wait, he calls out as the preacher starts to move on with the service. I have something to share. There is a low murmur, and people smile at us. They must think he's going to announce our engagement to everyone, and they turn expectantly to listen to him as he moves to stand at the front. I have looked upon death and suffering, Silas begins. I have seen demons and glorious angels. Last night, I had the privilege of being there when a miracle took place. The entire congregation is hanging on his every word, and I see now how suited he is to preaching. The story flows effortlessly from his mouth, even though he didn't actually see Justin himself. He describes the long hours of waiting and praying, and even the despair on my father's face. He carried the heavy burden that he hid from Mila. But God knew his burden and lifted it from him. I'm as entranced as the rest of the congregation as I listen to him speak. This is why God called him to preach the gospel. There is not a sound to be heard besides his voice in this church. He went home weary and heartbroken while Mila and I prayed together. Then her mother called to tell Mila about the miracle, and Mila called her father. His son was awake, and he was healed. Severe brain damage was the diagnosis, but God changed that overnight. No, even sooner. His dark eyes blaze with the intensity of emotion heard in his speech. The prognosis was severe brain damage after weeks in a coma. But the coma lasted less than a day, and there was no brain damage at all. I can no longer hold back my own intense emotion. Praise God! I shout. The congregation responds by raising their voices in unison. Praise God! There is a momentary silence while Silas walks back to sit beside me. The preacher then briefly comments on what God did for my brother. He probably doesn't feel the need to expound on it since Silas told it so well. After the church announcements, everyone gets up to head out into the hall for the coffee time that the preacher announced. Aren't you staying for coffee time? Mrs. Perkins inquires as I start toward the door. I need to get to the hospital and see my brother, I reply. Come back and worship with us again, she says. I will, I tell her. It was very nice to meet you. We can get married here if you'd like, Silas suggests as we walk outside. That sounds like a good idea to me. Yeah, I think I would. Everyone seems really nice. I will tell the minister, he says. We will also have to decide on the date. My birthday, I tell him. We cannot apply for a marriage license until you are 18, he informs me. The earliest we will be able to get married is the day after your birthday. Then that's the day we'll get married, I say. All right, he agrees. Where do you want to go for the honeymoon? I feel a rush of excitement as I stop beside his car. It's incredible to think about actually going on a honeymoon. An island, I reply. Which island? He questions. I don't know, I admit carelessly. I would just like to go to an island. Florida was great, but I've never been to an island. Then you shall, he declares. I smile at him, knowing that he will arrange everything. It's hard to believe that not that long ago I was teaching him how to live as a human. Now I feel comfortable relying on him to make travel arrangements for us. He drives to the hospital and pulls up to the entrance rather than parking the car. "Are you going back to college now?" I ask him. "I'm going to pay for your dresses," he answers. "I'll come back here afterwards." After everything that had happened yesterday, I had forgotten that we had promised payment for the dresses. Silas had proven yet again how reliable he could be. He slowly drives away after I exit the car, and I walk contentedly into the hospital to visit Justin. It's so different from my frantic arrival yesterday, and I give another heartfelt prayer of thanks to God.